I can't believe the news today. I can't just close my eyes and make it go away. How long, how long, how long must we sing this song? It's U2 in the 80s. Yeah, sure is. So, let's get cracking. As far as I can gather, U2 won a talent competition in Paddy's Day 1977, I think. And what they won was the studio time to record a single. And of course they did. And the rest is history, really. Dublin band, kind of garage, new wave influences stemmed from punk to some of the American classic rock bands, even Patti Smith and things like that. But their first album, Boy, was released in 1980. They were signed to CBS at this time. And yeah, it's not a bad album. It's got some pretty rudimentary playing styles on it, but again, the Edge's guitar shines. Yeah, produced by Steve Lillywhite, and he was a popular producer at the time. Did a lot of people, and then the hits on this one, I Will Follow. I remember seeing lots of footage of that on TV. Twilight, I'm Caught Dove, Into the Heart, Out of Control, that was another early blaster. And then of course Stories for Boys, The Ocean, A Day Without Me, that was another single, I think. Another Time, Another Place, The Electric Company, Shadows and Tall Trees. This was where it all started, really. Like I said, it's an urgent album. The band seem hungry on it. Yeah, nice album. Bono is the singer, The Edge guitar player, Adam Clayton bass player, Larry drummer. Worth checking out. Of course, it's a jangly song, very different to what they became after. Next up is October. This was released in 1981. Now, this is a little more sober. It doesn't really have the energy of the first one. Again, Steve Lillywhite was Lillywhite was at the helm. Recorded in Dublin, August 1981. Yeah, it just doesn't have the fire of the debut, and the band have admitted this themselves. Yeah, Gloria is on it. That's not a bad track. I like the guitar on it again. The Edges kind of guitars, arpeggios weave in and out. I Fall Down, I Threw a Brick Through a Window. Rejoice, Fire. It's almost like kind of metal, but it's lighter than metal. I remember that in 81. Tomorrow, October, Without a Shout, Jerusalem, in brackets. Stranger in a Strange Land. Scarlet, Is That All? So yeah, didn't have the fire, like I said, of the actual debut, and kind of falls short in many ways. Next up is album number 3, and that is War. Gatefold. Photographs by Anton Corbijn. He still actually takes photographs of the band today. Of course, this one was kind of make or break. They knew they had to kind of deliver. And there was also the issues in the band of being Christian rockers and all this kind of stuff. They had kind of had a conscience. Sunday Bloody Sunday. Always fun and annoying. I'm not sure why. Seconds, that's not bad. New Year's Day, that's a great U2 track. Fantastic song. Like a Song, and then Drowning Man. The Refugee, Two Hearts Beat as One. Sound is kind of softening a little bit. Red Light, Surrender, and 40. How long must we sing this song? Yeah, it's okay. It's not bad. Not bad at all. Of course, we got a generic inner sleeve here. The band are now signed to Island Records. This was big. It really broke them in America as well. Yeah, so they were on the pig's back after this one. Can't even get this. They can't even open it. But yeah, they were up and coming at this stage very fast, and you know, again, produced by Steve Lillywhite, except, and there's one song here, Refugee, and that was Bill Whelan produced it. He was the guy involved in Riverdance. Yeah, still mixed by Steve. Yeah. So yeah, that's the, you know, it's a kind of a trilogy really, and this is the end of their jangly sound, because all that was going to change on the next one. Next up is Live Under a Blood Red Sky. Now, this is not to be confused with Red Rocks, because I think that's the actual thing. There was a Red Rocks came out for Time Tease or Channel 4, I can't remember what it was, directed by Gavin Taylor. But this is a collection of live tracks from the tour. Some were recorded in the US and some were recorded in Denver, of course, Red Rocks, Boston, and then there's Germany. So produced by Jimmy Levine, mixed by Shelly Yakos at the Hit Factory, New York City. So yeah, this one has Gloria, 11 o'clock, TikTok, I Will Follow, Party Girl, Sunday, Bloody Sunday, The Electric Company, New Year's Day, 40. So there's a snapshot of the band live. There we go. It's not bad. In recent years, it has been reissued, and the Red Rocks DVD is in the package, which is nice. But you know, this is a mini LP as such. Probably clocks in under 40 minutes, and it gives the fans a taste of U2 live, because there's probably a lot of bootlegs coming out at the time. Yeah, not essential, but still a snapshot of early U2 live. Next up is The Unforgettable Fire. Now, this is where things start changing. The sound, the jangle is kind of more or less gone. This one is still on CBS for some reason. But yeah, this is a new sound, you know. And you know, I think the sound suits the band. Dan Lanois and Brian Eno. It's very hard to read the actual sleeve, but Eno and Lanois were the producers. Some of it was recorded in Slane Castle in the ballroom, you know. And this is the kind of start of a very kind of serious U2. The sound, the bass becomes deeper. There's a lot more atmosphere. It's not a bad album. It's not brilliant, you know, but it's for the time. Sort of Homecoming is on it. Pride in the Name of Love, that was a huge hit. That's a great track. Wire, I love Wire. That's fantastic. That was in Miami Vice, actually, in a car chase. The Unforgettable Fire, another great track. And Promenade. Inside 2, you've got 4th of July, Bad. That was a big live track. Indian Summer Sky, Elvis Presley in America, and MLK, Martin Luther King. Yeah, this is like I said, the atmosphere is coming in. That they kind of had more of a, you know, more ambient sound and stuff like that. And Eno and Lanois were to work with the band, I'd say, almost throughout their career after this. There's a documentary about this as well, available, and it's actually quite good. But there's a few kind of, you know, clunkers on it, but it's kind of U2 that you take more seriously, without a doubt. Yeah. So 85, the band played Live Aid, and you can see that Bono connected with the audience very nicely. But they only played 2 songs. They were meant to play 3. The rest of the band were pissed off over that. But, you know, you could tell that they were going to the top. 86, they played Self-Aid in Ireland. You could tell they were probably the biggest band on that. And by the latter part of 86, they were recording their new one, and that was released in March 87. And it was the Joshua Tree, and this was a gigantic album. And, you know, by the end of the year, they were the biggest band in the world. And, yeah, the biggest one. That's Death Valley, I think, on the cover. Another Corbion shot. Very, very nice. There's the black poly line bag or whatever the hell. The Joshua Tree. The Joshua Tree. It's been remastered and re-spliced and re-diced a million times ever since. Yeah, mature U2, great songs. I don't even have to name them out, because if you're familiar with U2, you'll know most of them. And there's some crackers on this one. I love Bullet the Blue Sky. Fantastic. Of course, there's a big hits. Where the Streets Have No Name. I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. With or Without You. Running to Stand Still. Red Hill Mining Town. In God's Country. Trip Through Your Wires. One Tree Hill Exit. Mothers of the Disappeared. Again, produced by Dan Lanois, Brian Eno, and there's a couple of tracks mixed by Steve Lillywhite. They still liked him. Yeah, he was kind of put energy into the songs. So what happens when you were the biggest band on the planet? Well, you got to deliver. Of course, you know, I suppose the fans were looking for Joshua Tree Part 2. But that didn't happen. Instead, the band were, you know, they were a juggernaut at this stage. And in 1988, along came Rattle and Hum. There was a movie as well. This was kind of like the soundtrack, I guess. There was a mishmash of live and studio tracks. But, you know, it was fun, I guess. The movie got a lot of... press, a lot of publicity. It shows their love for rock and roll. Look, Elvis is even here. B.B. King is involved. Yeah, serious stuff, you know, all in mono. But there's some good stuff on it. It's a sprawling beast. Helter Skelter, that's live. Cover of the Beatles track. Kind of slapped out. Van Diemen's Land, I think The Edge has a vocal on that. Desire, that was a single. Hawk Moon 269. All Along the Watchtower, another cover. I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, it's live. Freedom for My People, Silver and Gold. Pride in the Name of Love. The live tracks are from the 1987 Joshua Tree tour. Angel of Harlem was another single. Love Rescue Me, When Love Comes to Town, that's with B.B. King. Heartland, God Part 2, The Star Spangled Banner, Bullet the Blue Sky, and All I Want Is You. That is a great track, one of the best tracks on the album. Yeah, produced by Jimmy Lovine. Yeah, after this, I think they felt a little bit deflated, and you know, it wasn't much really. 1989 slipped by, and at the end of the year, they did a concert in Point Depot, and Bono said that, you know, it was fun. The 80s was over, and they had to go and dream it all up again, and they did. And what came next was probably, you know, I reckon their most productive and their most experimental period. So anyway, thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe and take care.